Hi, Ron here. What insights has the United Nations Cybersecurity Report for you as a leader in your company? Let's find out. This is the CXO Cybersecurity Report, which saves you time and money. And before we start, I would like to share a little story because actually today I was given a new nickname. And they say, because my old nickname, you heard it before, it's the Cyber Miracle Worker. And well, it was given to me, and I understand it because I've done a lot of projects where it seemed like a mission impossible with a very tight deadline, and always we were able to actually get it done in time, and it was like a miracle to everybody. But then they say, well, no, the thing is actually you're more like a cybersecurity mentor because you help people, professionals, but also organizations and leaders actually getting practical solutions in place. So you're more like a mentor instead of a miracle worker. And then I thought about it like, well, that's a good point. And by the way, I'm not just doing it on my own, right? I'm just not like this superhero doing everything by myself. Yes, I'm directing all the people and I do a lot of hard work on the background as well to make sure that we get the right results. But I like mentor more actually. So from now on, I will adopt this new nickname that they gave to me, the cybersecurity mentor. Great. Let's dive into the UN report. Basically, they say, well, the whole world needs a cybersecurity update. So if we look at the overall results, what we see here is that the developed countries are really ahead compared to the developing countries. We see this in the map with the overall results, obviously. So let's have a bit look into how they did the approach. They looked at 5 pillars in the report that they investigated, looking at the legal aspects of the country, what they have in place, technical setup, organizational aspect, the capacity building related to cybersecurity, and also collaboration, not only internally, but also with other countries and other agencies, which is very important within cybersecurity. So, in total, there are 193 countries that were asked to submit their data, and out of them, 134 really responded. So it's a really good, let's say, reference level because enough countries really provided the answers. One of the things, as a point of attention, I would like to share with you is it is sort of like a self-assessment. So they filled in their own answers. And luckily what they did is that there was some level of validation in place that, what they filled in, they were checking like, is there really some evidence around that available? I'm not sure to what extent they have checked it, to be honest. That's not so clear in the report. But when you do an assessment or reporting internally within your organization, make sure that you have the evidence checked. So, you can actually prove it because that's what the regulators, what audit, and what also, for example, the accountancy firms are looking for, the real evidence that you have it in place. Otherwise, it's just hot air talking, basically. So the overall score, actually, the number 1 position, which came on top, is Singapore, which, it's a very high-tech country, very advanced, and they got a great score, followed by the US and even Malaysia. So we say Asia actually very well represented here in the top 5 of the list that shows the level of commitment basically that the countries show regarding to cybersecurity. So because that's what they are testing basically, the level of commitment in all these areas within the governments of these different countries. Zooming into a little bit more of the details in the specific regions, this is per region the top 3 countries actually, and so we see here the Asia Pacific region, that's Singapore, Malaysia, and Australia, and they're doing really pretty well in all the 5 categories as we can see. So if we compare that with another region, for example the Americas, which covers the US, Canada, and Mexico as being in the top 3 within that region, we see actually that, especially on the organizational side, it's lacking a little bit behind. Also on the other 2, there's much more improvement already in the Asia region from these findings, from this report. Looking at Europe, we say, really on the legal side, it's very well arranged. So a lot of legislation in place. Technical measures also pretty okay, but overall, you see that Asia is sort of leading the pack here, which, it's quite interesting to see that. There's a lot more detail about it, and in the report, which I will not go into here, it's not relevant for you. But the thing I want to show you here is that, do you have such insights within your own company? Do you have sort of like a balanced scorecard kind of a methodology in place that shows you let's say the good, strong areas related to cybersecurity and your defenses, and maybe the weaker areas where you have bigger risks and maybe need to do something in short term or mid-term? If not, it's maybe a good thing to think about to get that in place. Main conclusion, I will read this to you, is basically cybersecurity is an increasingly important part of our lives today. And the degree of interconnectivity of networks implies that anything and everything can be exposed. Unfortunately, that is the reality today. And everything from national critical infrastructure to our basic human rights can be compromised. That's it. We really need to step up and make sure that the real sensitive data and information, the real assets within our companies, are sufficiently protected. And protection alone is not enough, because we see that even the preventive measures, they're like effective for like 80% of the time. We need additional detection in place that as soon as a hacker gets in, or an internal threat, it can even be an employee that has malicious intent, want to commit fraud or whatever, that we see that as soon as possible. And there's some very smart, innovative solutions out there, luckily, that really can help you do that in a very practical, efficient way without impacting the business. So that it's really, really possible there. If we're looking at the development countries, we see here that actually they're lacking the knowledge and experience in-house. They don't have enough people that have the knowledge about cybersecurity, which hampers, the way how they progress overall. So thinking about it, what does it imply for your company? I know a lot of companies have been outsourcing to cheaper labor countries, and I'm not naming any or blaming any. Don't worry about that. But think about it. If you outsource to other regions that are less developed, of course, saves you a lot of cost, but at least make sure that they are at the same security level that you are within your organization. Otherwise, maybe you have your front door completely locked down. That's all fine. But then via the back door, your outsourcing partner, they can hack them more easily, and they get to your data anyway, and cause a really big problem for the organization. So that's really something to think about, because here it shows again, there's really less knowledge and experience in those countries related to cybersecurity. Good. So the top 3 of the tips for today. We see there's an increased demand for cybersecurity. The importance only increases, and we also see the awareness level with the governments growing and growing. So not only that they need to get their own act together in some areas of the government, in the government organizations, but they will continue to put more pressure on critical organizations in their countries to make sure that they comply, that they have their act together, and to actually demonstrate it. And we see that already in the regulatory regime popping up in Europe and in other areas as well. Singapore has one of the very strict areas as well of regulation related to cybersecurity, especially in the finance sector. So it's not surprising actually. So expect that. Make sure that you be able to show more and more that you're in control. Actually, we can help you with that also to number 2, the cyber defense score. So you sort of get a benchmark. Where are you at this moment compared to others, and how well are you doing in certain areas? So that can be helpful as well if you don't have anything like that. And also implement additional reporting if that's necessary for you, if you don't have it yet. Sort of like the red and orange balls and green ones that we just showed you as an example. It's very helpful to have a detailed reporting such as that in your organization, showing what are the weaker areas, what are the stronger areas, and you can just show it to everybody that you need to prove it to the board, to the accountants, to the audit department, whoever. And the important thing here is to do the work once and use those reports and evidence multiple times. I've got a big experience as well with integrating that in large organizations, and it is doable. If you do it in a smart way, it saves you so much more time and effort. So that's what I suggest. Look at an integrated approach. That's of course the free gifts waiting for you at our website, CyberGuard International/VIP. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and looking forward to your comments. Have a great day.